I think we can all agree short form content sucks. Everywhere you look now, you see somebody talking about how it's frying our dopamine receptors and killing our attention span and our mental health, and you remember that this is your brain on drugs video? Well, now this is your brain on YouTube Shorts. And while I wholeheartedly believe that short form content platforms like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels are detrimental to your mental health, I just can't stop scrolling. I am a sucker for those little dopamine hits. I have this little to-do whiteboard in my room, and the thing that's on the top of it is stop doom scrolling, so that way I have a reminder every day not to spend the first few hours injecting TikTok straight into my veins. There was a lot of times while I was making this video where I just opened up TikTok and started mindlessly scrolling for like 20 minutes before I remembered what I was actually doing. Now obviously there's an easy solution to this problem. Just delete the app, which I'm not gonna do because I'm afraid of FOMO. But it's for a good reason. I mean, what am I supposed to do when I'm missing out on all these cool trends and vocabulary like skibbity toilet riz, Ohio phantom tax, gout, grimace shake? These words that I just used are common examples of what's known as brain rot. If you don't know what brain rot is, it's content that is so dumb and so mind numbing that it makes you stupid. That's all it is. Content that rots your brain. And this brain rot is being seen heavily on short form content platforms. I don't want to sound like an old head, but I think we all know that our attention spans are actively shrinking and that short form content isn't exactly helping the problem. These little bite-sized videos are giving us constant hits of dopamine, and if you see something that you don't like, you can just immediately scroll and get that dopamine hit from another video. Despite this, I don't want to make it seem like everything on these platforms is bad. There are a lot of creators on these platforms who've used this content style to create things that are educational and that showcase art and humor and creativity, and the fact that these platforms give people a voice that they otherwise would never have is honestly awesome. But there's two sides to every coin, and with every good video on this platform, there's also ones that use clips of the Joe Rogan podcast with flashy subtitles and loud music and flipping images and GTA gameplay in the background. There are so many of these types of videos, and each one is made to be as engaging as possible so you don't click off. And they make these things using anything: YouTube videos, story times, movies, TV shows, anything that they can slice up with soap cutting videos, Minecraft parkour, and hydraulic presses. This type of content is just unoriginal. It's an amalgamation of already existing media. It's not adding anything to anything. Are they entertaining? Yeah, I watch every single one. I would be lying if I said I didn't like watching Young Sheldon and House MD clips every time they came up on my For You page, but it's still brain rot because it's just made to grab your attention and not let go. I also really enjoy those videos where there's a narrator poorly explaining like a clip of a movie, and then he names everybody Shao Lang, and then this music plays in the background. But yeah, this type of content is one type of brain rot. It's just overstimulating media, and it's also being heavily targeted towards kids, which isn't good. When you hear the word brain rot though, it's usually more so in reference to the specific type of kids content, you know, things like online personalities, general slang, or animations that younger people are watching. You got internet stars like Kai Cenat and Aiden Ross, or words like Riz and Gyat, which are seen as brain rot just because they're perceived as stupid. The general thought process behind this is, well, this is being targeted towards kids, and kids are stupid, so that means that the content that they watch is stupid. And if kids are referencing this type of stuff outside in everyday life, then that means that they're using too much social media and it's rotting their brains. There's also a lot of animations that are being made that are targeted towards kids that are just pure brain rot. I'll show you some examples. Here we have Skibbity Toilet, which is actually a lot more profound than you would think it is, because it's about these talking toilets that try to take over the world, and these camera heads have to stop them and band together. But it's still brain rot. It all started with these animations where these talking toilets were singing Give It To Me by Timbaland, but instead they were saying skibbity dop 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 the whole time. Yeah, there's a loose plot, but it's no Shakespeare. There's also these animations where there's these talking chicken nuggets that sing Cotton Eye Joe, and you have to help them so that they're not eaten by Nikocado Avocado. And they're under the same scrutiny that like TikTok is, because it's just overstimulating. There's not really a point to any of these videos. I've seen a lot of other people in my age range, parentheses other Gen Zers, who have been criticizing Gen Alpha because of like their fried dopamine receptors. There's people who look at Gen Alpha like they're all hermits and lost causes, but the thing is, if I look back at some of the things that I and other Gen Zers were watching when we were kids, they have like the exact same issues. There's a lot of people who talk about these short form platforms that exist right now and seem to forget that Vine existed back in 2013. You could plop down on the couch and watch Vines endlessly. Obviously, there are a lot of differences between Vine and TikTok. For one, Vine had like that 6-second time limit, so everything on there was just like a skit or things people found funny at the time, and there wasn't really any editing either. But the point still stands that like it was short form content. You could just sit on the couch and watch and scroll for hours, really. Maybe those little dopamine hits were even worse because you were getting them every single 6 seconds as opposed to like every 30 seconds on TikTok. I just think it's kind of hypocritical to act like we didn't face these same issues when we were kids, especially with the animations. These brain rot animations are like pretty close to some of the stuff that was trending like pre-2015. YouTube poops used to be extremely popular, and that entire genre was just mashups of videos. I remember being a kid and watching these on my iPod with the volume all the way down because I knew if my mom caught me watching them, she'd have me lobotomized. Or when MLG memes became popular, same thing, because I knew I could not get caught watching old pyrocynical videos on my phone. Dude, have you been seeing some of these brain rot animations kids are watching now? Oh yeah, the Skibbity Toilet, right? Yeah, kids are so dumb. You know, it kind of reminds me of those YouTube poops we used to watch when we were younger. What? The YouTube poop videos, remember? How could you even say that? It's not even that different. Pull one up. I will. What does he mean they're not that different? Ah, look, here's one that'll show him.
Got the same ring bar as me! You got the same ring bar.
See? This one's funny because it's ironic. MLG quickly devolved from Call of Duty Black Ops dubstep parodies to Illuminati confirmed the Doritos and oh, here comes that boy! I love these videos wholeheartedly, but I cannot act like it's any better than the things we were watching then. Even the Gary's Mod parodies, that's like what Skibidi Toilet is. It's the exact same thing, it's just a never-ending cycle. I'm gonna be honest guys, neither of these are something that you'd find in the Library of Alexandria. The only kind of solid defense I've heard is that YouTube poops and MLG videos are made to be funny and ironic parodies, while these TikTok videos are just being made to like hold your attention span. And also there's the fact that a lot of people making these TikTok videos are just doing it to make a little bit of moolah, which is definitely true, but I am 100% sure there was people during the MLG era doing the exact same thing. When I was watching MLG as a kid, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is funny because it's ironic and it's a parody. I just thought it was funny, you know, it was something to keep me entertained, and that's what's happening with kids today. That's how it's always going to be. The intention of the people making them doesn't really matter because kids are just still going to indulge in it anyways. Not too long ago, I was at the park with my younger brother and he was playing with like some other kids and I heard one of them yell, "Run, it's a Skibidi Toilet!" And it did make me cringe, but it's the same thing I was doing when they were kids. I was running around the playground yelling like 360 no scope, and then I was making the air horn noise with my mouth. I do think kids now are definitely getting way too much internet access, but that's not the Brainrot's fault. Brainrot definitely isn't a new thing, and people who are saying that Brainrot now is worse than Brainrot before are just blinded by nostalgia, I think. And I do think this kind of partially correlates into the idea that generations are never going to fully be able to understand each other. Because now Gen Zers are looking at Gen Alpha the way millennials looked at Gen Z when they were little. There is this great conversation between Michael from VSAUCE and Anthony Padilla where Michael mentions how even if hamster wheels are left out in the forest, hamsters will still use them because they just like to do it. They don't have a need to do it, but they just, you know, they still like running in it. And people view the internet as that. They view the internet as this wheel in this cage. But just like the hamsters, we still love running on this wheel, even if it's something that we don't need. Human beings love things that are gonna keep them entertained. It's always been like that. Maybe it's getting a little worse, but that's never gone anywhere. He also kind of compares how like these videos we see now of a Reddit story time jumbled with some Minecraft parkour footage is kind of like the modern day equivalent of you talking to your friend on the phone while you watch cars pass by. I'm not trying to say that watching cars pass by is nearly as bad as being glued to your phone, but it still stands that, you know, we were like this even before the internet. It's just the perfect fuel to the already burning fire. In both instances, our attention is still going to two different places. And it makes sense that we're all addicted to the internet. Anything else in life that you get dopamine from, you really gotta work for it. You wanna get dopamine hits from exercising, you gotta physically commit to training. You wanna get that dopamine hit from heroin, you gotta get addicted to some bad stuff. You wanna get dopamine hits from sex, you have to talk to women. With the internet, you just get those dopamine hits by being lazy and like laying on your bed and scrolling. Internet aside though, there's still examples of brain rot that don't use the internet. When you were a kid, what were the two things you got told that would rot your brain? Video games and TV. You might kind of look at these examples as playing loosey-goosey with the rules, but you watch 5 minutes of any TLC show and you'll see it's brain rot. Watching TV in general is seen as being better than being on your phone, even though the average American household still watches 9 hours of TV per day, and research actually suggests that watching too much TV can lead to cognitive decline and an increased risk in brain-based diseases. Huh. Yeah, maybe I can hold off for a little. Even books sometimes can be seen as brain rot. I had friends as kids who weren't allowed to read Captain Underpants because their parents thought the books were dumb. And those are books. Those are like at the top of the smart people media hierarchy. Brain rot is a new term, but it's not a new issue. It's true that our attention spans are getting shorter, but it's weird to act like this is something that's never happened before. It's human nature to want to be entertained, and young people are always going to be drawn to things that are popular and engaging. I'm sure there's probably things from your childhood that you watched that your parents thought was dumb because they just weren't kids anymore. And now you're that person who's a little older and now you're judging what younger kids watch. I also think that we're really scaring ourselves into thinking that this is a world-ending issue when we've always been like this. I don't think it's really going away anytime soon. So, I don't know, I guess maybe don't be as judgmental as to what young people watch. And also put down your phone once in a while and go talk to women or something. And also stop raising iPad kids.